Hi class, today we're looking at chapter 6-1 angle measures. So architects often use angles when they design their structures. An angle is a figure formed by two rays with a common end point. Let's write that down. So an angle is a figure formed by two rays with a common end point. So let's see if we were to do, so if this is the common end point and we have a ray coming out this way, we're going to name that ray E. This ray is going to be C, and this ray is going to be D. And this is angle 1. Okay, so these that are coming out, let's do them in red. These are rays. The end point, the common end point, that is called a vertex. Okay, so we have two rays and a vertex. So you can name this angle DCE, right? From D to C to E. Angle ECD. Or you could call it angle C or angle 1. Okay? Those are all proper names for this particular angle. So now we're going to look closer at these different types of angles. So let's start out with this middle one. So this one is called a right angle. A right angle is 90 degrees. So when it's measured at 90 degrees, and you can always tell because it has this red, and it may not always be red, but there's a square, a half a square right here in the middle. And when you see that, you automatically know it is 90 degrees. Okay, that's a right angle. If you have a small angle here, this is called acute angle. And it's between 0 degrees and 90 degrees. So it's smaller than a right triangle. And I often think of it as, you know, like babies are cute. So if it's a small angle, it's a cute angle. Oh. And then this next one you can see is bigger than 90 degrees, right? 90 degrees would be straight up and down here. So this is bigger than 90 degrees. And this is called an obtuse angle. And an obtuse angle is between 90 degrees and 180 degrees. Okay, so that's obtuse. And then we have, a straight line, and that is called a straight angle. And a straight angle measures 180 degrees. So it's always 180 degrees if it's a straight angle. Okay, so if the sum of two angles equals 90 degrees, the angles are complementary. This is a word you need to memorize. Complementary equals 90 degrees. If the sum of two angles is 180 degrees, the angles are supplementary. Okay, so you have got to just memorize, because throughout our questions, complementary equals 90 degrees, or write this down and refer to it. Supplementary equals 180 degrees. So as we look right here, these two angles are complementary because 51 plus 39, if you add those together, 51 plus 39 equals 90 degrees. So that's why they are complementary, because they equal 90 degrees. These 65 and 115 are supplementary. So just to double check, 115 plus 65, 10, 7, 8, 180 degrees. They equal 180 degrees. So whenever you see supplementary, you know it's going to equal 180. So we are now going to talk about adjacent angles. Let's write that down. Adjacent angles. They share a vertex, right? Here's the vertex. They share a vertex and a side, but have no interior common points. So this angle right here and this angle right here are adjacent angles. Okay? Adjacent angles. So now let's check this out. This is a little bit easier or hard to read here, but this is the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And so if you look at this bottom right here, right, is going to be a straight line. It's going to be supplementary. These two angles, this angle and this angle, when we add them together, are going to be 180 degrees because that is a straight line. If we know what this one is and this one is, we can plug it into an equation. So we know that if we add these two equations together, it's going to equal 180. So we have 3x minus 35 plus 2x equals 180 degrees. So now we want to solve for x. Okay, so if we solve for x, we can use the commutative property. So in the commutative property, we can switch things around. So let's do 3x plus 2x minus 35 equals 180. And then let's use the associative property. So let's put 3x plus 2x, associate those two together, minus 35 equals 180. So combine like terms, that's going to be 5x minus 35 equals 180. And so let's add 35 to each side to get rid of that. Plus 35 plus 35. These are going to cross out. This is going to equal 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 215. So then we have 5x equals 215. Let's divide the 5. Right now it's being multiplied. And when we divide that, x equals 43 degrees. No, 43 degrees. But that just tells us what x equals. That does not tell us what the angles equal. Oh, and we didn't fill this out. The angles are supplementary. So the third part of this process is to solve the angles. So let's take this first angle right here, and if we did 3 times x, and x equaled 43, minus 35, that's going to give us the measurement of the first angle. The second one is going to be 2 times x, which is 43. Okay, so let's start with this first one. 3 times 43 equals 129. Subtract 35 is going to equal 94. So therefore, this one, this angle right here equals 94 degrees. And then the second one, if we do 43 times 2, that's going to equal 86 degrees. So that measurement is 86. Okay, so now let's look at this. If angle A and angle B are complementary, what do we know about complementary? Means it equals 90 degrees. And angle A is 5 times angle B. What is angle B? So let's think about this. We know that it equals 90 degrees. And we're saying that angle A equals 5 times the measurement of angle B. So if let's do angle B as a B. So we have 5 times B plus the measurement of B equals 90 degrees. So we want to simplify. We can do 5B plus B, which equals 6B, and that equals 90 degrees. And then if you take 90 and you divide it by 6, you get 15. So B equals 15 degrees. So angle B equals 15 degrees. So then we'll want to write it as the measurement of angle B equals 15 degrees. Okay? So the next two, you try these. The first one, you're trying to figure out what the two measures of these two angles are. Remember that this line right here is supplementary, so it'll equal 180. And then the second one is a similar word problem to the one we just did. Press pause, see what you can do. Come back to me when you're done. Okay. So for the first one, you should have got 65 degrees and 115 degrees. Remember, there's more than just solving for x. You then have to put x into the original equations to give you what each angle actually equals. And for number 2, you should have got 50 degrees and 40 degrees. Okay, so angle 1 and angle 2, so here's 1, here's 2, are vertical angles. Vertical angles are formed by two, vertical angles. Oh, and it wants you to write it again. That's silly, you don't have to. Are formed by two intersecting lines and are opposite each other. Vertical angles have equal measures. Angles with equal measures are congruent. Okay, so the word congruent means that they're the same. So this is saying angle 1, because they're vertical, they're opposite of each other, they are the same measurement when it's just two lines that are intersecting. When there's just the two lines, whatever measurement angle measures, whatever this one measures, this one will measure. Okay? They are congruent. So, looking at this, if we know that measure 1 equals 25.7 degrees, we know that measure 3 is congruent. It's vertical angles with number 1, so therefore it also equals 25.7 degrees. And then we know that angle 2 and angle 4 are also congruent or vertical angles. So therefore they are the same, but we don't know what that is, so we need to figure it out. But we do know that this is a straight line, which equals 180 degrees. So if that equals 180 degrees, and we know that measurement 1 is 25.7 degrees, we want to do plus what equals 180. So let's subtract 25.7 from both sides. And therefore, we get that x equals 154.3. So if that's what x is, that's the measurement of 2 and 4. So measurement 2 is 154.3 degrees and measurement 4 is 154.3 degrees because they are congruent. Okay, so why don't you please try the next 2 on your own. Okay, so you should have got that the measurement of angle 5 was 108 degrees. The measurement of angle 7 was 108 degrees. And you got that by subtracting 72 from 180 to equal the straight line, because this is a straight line and this is a straight line. So looking at this next one, there's 2 ways to do it. They give you the 25 degrees and the 155 degrees. So if you're looking at the congruent or vertical angles, we know that if this one's 155, then this one is the same. So therefore it's 155. But if you wanted to, you could say, okay, I know that this is a straight line, which equals 180. And if that equals 180, and we could take 180 and we could subtract 25, and that'll tell us what this is here because of the straight line. So when we do that, it equals 155 degrees. So there's more than one way to do it to get the same answer. I find knowing congruent and vertical angles are easier, but totally up to you, whatever works for you. Your homework is page 218, number 3 through 19 odd. Happy homeworking!